Now, today, I want to talk about soul winning. Here's the text, Proverbs 11:30. The last half of it says, "He who winneth souls is wise." Tremendous thought. I don't dare use it in the European Bible because it doesn't say that. You have to be careful when you go to other countries. It doesn't say that. So I had to find an alternative text. James 5:20. Let him know that he which converteth a sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins. So that's the one I use over in Europe. Now, what's the Adventist chief aim? We are to be missionaries, having for our chief aim the winning of souls to Christ. Is that your aim? And a lot of you are thinking of moving out into the country somewhere. How do you plan to do that there? You know, this is our chief aim. This is the church's aim. This is every individual's aim, winning souls to Christ. So I want to brainstorm with you just a little bit. How do we do this? And I'm trying to take it from the testimony of Jesus. What he said. Sabbath school. The Sabbath school should be one of the greatest instruments at this, and the most effective in. We don't have Sabbath schools anymore. We have the time. They might call it Sabbath school, but it isn't Sabbath school. What's Sabbath school supposed to be? Well, you have a lesson study, but did you ever hear of the investment offering? The birthday offering? The 13 Sabbath offerings? Back, we had those for foreign mission work, to send the money overseas for foreign mission work. We don't have that anymore. Besides that, I remember each class was assigned a home missionary project. They used to ask us, how many tracts did you give out last week? How many contacts did you make last week? Sabbath school used to be a place where you begin new people who aren't church members. In the mission field, we had more people attending church at Sabbath school than at church time. Sabbath school is where they learned how to be a church member. That's where they learned the doctrines. We've lost it. We haven't done that. I think we should. That's supposed to be one of our best soul-winning efforts, Sabbath school. Second thing, helping the community. In Melbourne, Australia, there was a man there. He had 3 siblings, 3 brothers. They were all ministers, 4 of them. One was the conference children's director for children's work. But this one man, he wanted to start a new church. It's a good idea. Start a new church. So he went out to the Melbourne airport and bought a big factory building, empty. One room he turned into a church. I was there. I helped him do cooking schools. And he hired people, employed them, maybe without pay even, volunteers. He got one man to teach the young people carpentry. He had 3 receptionists, all Muslims. He hired another person to raise money for the poor children's Christmas presents. He had one man that had an antique auto show once a year. He had people doing all kinds of things, helping the community. And pretty soon the people will say, why are you doing this? What do you believe? And they began to ask him questions. And within a year or a year and a half, he had 90 new converts baptized. When I was there, the Muslim receptionist came to me. She said, "Are you coming back?" I said, "If they ask me to." Well, she says, "I'm sorry to tell you, I can't officially ask you. I've only been here 2 months and I'm not yet baptized." But she was planning to be. It was exciting how all these people came to the church. And when they had 90 members, they split in half. 45 went an hour and a half away to another town where there was no church and started a new group. Now, I thought that was great. Now, I was thinking about our work in Romania. That's the only country in Europe where we have a sizable number of Adventists. About 70,000. Nowhere else is it like that. So I asked the union president, I said, "How come we had so many Adventists here?" He said, "In the early days when our work started, our people helped other people bring in their crops. We helped everybody. And everybody liked us because of it. And the church expanded. We need to do something for the community." What have we done for Colton here? Okay? By personal labor, reach those around you. Become acquainted with them. Preaching will not do the work that needs to be done. Medical missionary work. There's nothing that converts the people like the medical missionary work. That's what Sister White said. The testimony. It's not Sister White, it's Jesus telling it through Sister White. There's nothing that converts the people like the medical missionary work. Jesus spent more time healing than preaching. Feed the hungry, clothe the naked, visit the sick. Now, I want to show you some slides. I took some students to the Philippines. I was the first one in the university to take students out of the country. And I took them to the Philippines. And the first boy came, my student, I put him in charge. Bill Osmondson. And I gave him a 4-page document, typewritten, of his assignment. He was to find a village where there was malnutrition under 5 age group, develop a plan to conquer the problem. It must continue even after he's gone, after 3 months. It's supposed to have evangelistic potential. That was the assignment. You know, Bill couldn't find children who are malnourished. I said, "Look at that little girl over there. How old do you think she is?" 7. I said, "You ask her. I think she'll say she's 9. We asked her. She was 9. She's okay for a 7-year-old, but she's short. The kids were all 8 to 10 inches shorter than the well-nourished kids in the Makati district of Manila. Now, here we are, coming into the village. A village, 100 Nipa huts, homes there, village. All right? Next slide. Let's see, how do I poke these slides? All right, here, we're checking height and weight. Height. Now, you see where the ruler is? That's how high they should be, how tall they should be, compared to wealthy area. Okay? Next slide. All right. There's under our rented Nipa hut. You see there was bamboo slats there, and there's enough cracks between the slats that you put the garbage down there, and the pigs underneath took care of it for you. That was the garbage disposal system. Okay, next slide. Now, Raylyn Ward, one of our students, came out ready to jog, because in the U.S. for exercise you jog. I said, Radian, this is a different exercise system here. The exercise here is bringing the water into the Nipa hut. So we have a different exercise program for physical fitness. There she is with a Filipino translator helping her come in. Okay, the next slide. Now, there was a little Indian girl from the U.S., not one of my students, but she asked if she could go along. She was a nurse. So she went along. And there she is, singing songs to the children in the village in the evening, you know. Very nice girl, but she looked dark like the Filipinos, and they were upset when she couldn't talk to them in their language because they thought she was Filipino. Next slide. Now, there were a lot of people that had worms. We did a stool test. They brought their specimens in a coconut shell. Now, one boy didn't have a specimen, but the other boy shared with his. And so they both had a specimen to bring. Now, everybody had at least 3 different kinds of worms. It was terrible. They had hookworm. Get through your feet. We had to develop a system to get shoes for them, sandals or something, okay? So we had to work on that. But the head of the village, he didn't think he was sick because he had had the pills. He had already, about 3 months ago, he had worms again too. They all had 3 kinds at least. It was a bad situation with the worms. Now, we had to do something about the toilet system. Next slide. We built a house on the church property so that the pastor would have a home to live in after we left. This we called our field station. Bill Osmond was a good builder, and here it is. Next slide. Now, toilets. The prisoners made the toilet bowls. Cost us only $1 a piece to buy them, $1 US. And so we got the toilets and we had a toilet building contest. Now, who's going to be the judge? Students said I was to be the judge. You had to have a path of flowers on the way up to make it look nice. And now, the upper part, you see, the people didn't like these old wooden outhouses. The wooden things, because when they got rotten and you fell through, you got a bad nickname. And so we had to develop a new system. Bill Osmondson, our student, was very good at this. He had a cement floor you couldn't fall through. And then the septic tank was out behind it, see? And the part above ground, it was the girls' job to build that. Next slide. They weren't getting enough to eat. It was a coconut island. You had coconut. You had fish. You had kangkong. You know, it had some vitamin A and C in the little drainage ditches there with the greens, kangkong. And they did grow soybeans. They had tofu. They had rice. And they had coconuts. But they didn't have much to eat. They didn't have enough to eat. Now, we had Saturday night programs. There's no electricity in the village. So we had kerosene lanterns. We had Saturday night programs. And I would go around with a plate. Do you eat this much rice every day? How much do you eat? They weren't getting enough. Now I was trying to tell them they had to eat more. Okay? Next slide. Where are they going to get the food? We had to start a garden. And we taught the kids in the school how to plant gardens. As a result, the governor of the province made a law. Every school must teach gardening. Pretty good, huh? Now, I ran out of money over there. I needed money. I ran out of money. So Bill Osmondson and I went to the post office. We met President Marcus's wife there at the post office. Imelda, remember she's the woman that had 1,000 pairs of shoes? Every new brand of shoe, they would give her a pair. And she had thousands of shoes. But anyway, I got a letter that I sent to 80 of my friends in the U.S. We plastered the envelope everywhere except the address, front and back, with beautiful stamps, the prettiest ones we could find in the Philippines. I knew nobody's going to throw that into the wastebasket. They're going to look at it. We got back in the mail $4,000 to carry on our work. Okay? But here we are learning how to plow with a carabao. That's our little Indian girl, the nurse that went along with it. Plow. See? Yeah, you're right, that's right. Right, water buffalo. Okay, next slide. Now, here's those bamboo floors, a little hard. We suggested getting foam rubber mats. So we did for the students there. And there's the girl who translated for us. And Bill Osmondson's back is to us. He was the boy, the student. He ended up dentistry. But next slide. There's Bill Osmondson. Okay, next slide again. There's the huts, the Nipa huts, in this Coconut Island. Next slide. And little children playing next to our house. Next slide. There's our girl who translated for us. We had kerosene stoves to cook with. We had charcoal pots to start with. Next slide. And this is the head man in our hospital laboratory. He and his wife were medical technicians. They came out to examine all the student specimens to see what worms were. You know, who had worms and all. Everybody had at least 3 kinds of worms. And here we were, the Indian girl there that went with it, and they were singing to, what's that? Oh, it's the island of Pulilio, Quezon. See? Yeah, the island of Pulilio. Octa Pulilio barrio at the tip of the island. Is that right? Well, we got there. The first man we ran into, he said, I'm the quack doctor here. He said that. He said, I'm the quack doctor. He had told everybody they had hypertension. He didn't have a sphaig or a stethoscope. Now, we either fight him or we join him. We joined him. And we bought him a sphaig and stethoscope, taught him how to use it, and he found nobody had hypertension. Okay, the next slide. Now, here's some of the children bringing the water in. Next again. There's the charcoal pots we started cooking with. Okay. Did
you say there's no hypertension?
There was no hypertension. Why? Because of the coconut.
Yes.
Well, they're not overweight.
The coconut oil is the best in the world.
They're not overweight. They exercise. They got a lot of good things going for them. Next slide. And here's the Indian girl washing her hands. Next. There's the old-time outhouse that they didn't like anymore because the boards, they'd fall through it after they got rotten, you know. And so they didn't want to use outhouses. This was our problem. So we had to build an outhouse for us to start with, you know. We dug a hole. There was a snake there by the hole. And I know the girls wouldn't use it if they saw that snake. So we had to develop another one, another hole. So we dug another hole, and we put it in a nice place where the branches came out like this, so you sit on the branches. But they took their bolo knives, and they cleaned it off nice. But it was a tree that gave out a lot of sap. And you sit on it, and you get up, and here's all the strings of sap hooked onto you. You put toilet paper on, it's worse. All these strings of sap. So we had quite a time. And here's the upper part going up of our outhouse. Next slide. There's Raylene Ward. It's her job to build it. She didn't know how to weave the palm fronds together. Next slide. So we got a girl from the Pacific Union College to come out, Bible student, and she taught them how to weave the palm for this house. Okay, next slide. And here's the elder, one of the first prize in this was a watch, the only watch in the village. When we got there, the head of the village said, Sunday we're calling everybody together for you to talk to. What time shall we begin? They said 8 o'clock. Nobody had a watch. And Bill Osmond says, when do we stop? About the time the sun goes down. Now our students had been taught how to give an hour's lecture, but what do you do when you have the whole day with them? This was kind of exciting. But here's the elder. He got the third prize. The second and third prize were shovels. The only shovels in the village. That shows you how poor they were. You know, they just didn't have anything. Slide. There is the outhouse going up. Next one. There it is. Pretty good. Pretty good. That's Raylan Ward's work. Next slide. Now, here's a place where they wash their clothes. I checked the water there. They had at least 3 or 4 different organisms, including cholera, in that water. Next slide. Brother Gusolitar, did you know him? Gusolitar. He's here. One of them's here. Gusolitar. He was the pastor, and he had property up there, about a kilometer or so away. That he had a good spring. We needed to get water from there down here to the village. Okay? And here's his spring. His water. Next slide. All right, there they are, starting to build. Next slide. See, we brought big bamboos and things in from the jungles. Next. And here Bill Osmond is building our field station, which the minister could live in later, see? Next slide. And field station. Next slide. Loma Linda University Field Station. Barrio Octopolilio, Quezon, Republic of Philippines. Okay? Next slide. A lot of coconuts. Okay, next one. The safest water to drink is coconut water.
During the war, when the military in the Philippines ran out of dextrose,
Yeah.
they get coconut water.
Yeah. That was the safest water. That was pure. It wasn't contaminated. Okay, next. There we are, getting the water. Next. We never did learn how to do this. Climb the coconut tree. Next slide. Soft coconut. Next. The height. That girl should have been that much taller. Next. See, they were short. Next. They didn't have birthdays. We wrote their birth date. So we had everybody registered and listed so we knew what their birthday should be. We had a problem with the babies dying. The Filipinos would take their dirty fingers and check this point that they made on the bamboo to cut the cord with, and they were contaminating it, and the babies died from tetanus. And so we had to handle that problem. Looking for lice. Next slide. Again, some more of that. Next. Raylan Ward. Here's our garden we had. We taught the students how to garden. Yes. Next slide. That's our Bible translator, Marilyn Bitter-Onen. Somebody just graduated last year from the nursing school here by that same name, Bitter-Onen. Probably a relative. Next slide. There we are, Saturday night programs with the tofu and the kangkong and stuff. Okay, next slide. How's that garden look? Pretty good, huh? I mean, just 3 months with these students. I was the first one to take students from Loma University overseas. And it was really worthwhile. Next slide. Some more. Next one. Again, the Saturday night programs. Next slide. Here are some of the kids. I flew all the students to Cebu, to a hospital where this Catholic doctor owned, that he treated all the malnourished kids. At the end of each floor, there was a kitchen where they teach the women how to cook and how to dry food and stuff like that. But a kid with kwashiorkor, low implantation of the hair. See the pigment on the chest? Pigment. You think the kid's whining? It's a natural smile of a kwashiorkor protein deficient kid. Okay, next. Look at the muscles around the buttocks. The muscles are deteriorated because of lack of protein. Next slide. And see, a pot belly. Next slide. Let's go on to the next one. But low implantation of the hair, that's pretty easily seen there. Just the hair just doesn't come in well. Next slide. Another little girl. Just loads of kids. That's disappeared now. We're over that hump. Okay. Next slide. That was where we taught the mothers how to cook in that ward. Okay, next slide. Drying food, making little trinkets to sell to get some money to buy milk for the kids. Next slide. That's me looking at it. I used to be thinner. I was 116 when I was a... All right, no. That was 1973. So that's 17, 20, 27, 48 years ago. Here I'm 98 next month. So that's 50. I was 50 maybe, but I was skinny. Okay, next slide. The mothers are trying to dry food, show them how to do it. Okay, next slide. Here's the beds with a company that paid enough to keep one bed going all year round. See, different commercial concerns that they got money from. So you can see how slim I was in those days. Next slide. Now, usually when a patient's sick, the whole family comes. So they had, outside the hospital, they had all these little houses where the whole family could stay to care for the sick person. And they had to learn how to treat them, see? Okay, next slide. There's the doctor, Catholic doctor, who owned that hospital. Next slide. There's the hospital. Beautiful hospital. Next slide. This eye problem, keratomalaysia of the eye, vitamin A deficiency problem. Next slide. Now look at the pigmentation on the hand. Eye problem. Kwashiorkor, malnourished kid. Next slide. There you can see the muscle around the buttocks. It and low implantation of the hair. Next slide. Yeah, that's typical. Ribs sticking out, that malnourished grin that they have. Next slide. Look at the pigmentation there. That's kwashiorkor, protein deficiency. Okay, next. We left when it was raining. We left. Next slide. Well, that's we've already had, but anyway, so let's see if there's another one. There's the Minister of Health. We had a fellow just learned how to be a lab tech in the Philippines, and he couldn't get into his blood vessel. So I had to do it, finally. I met him here. He's in the U.S. now. He said, "You remember me? I couldn't get into the Minister of Health's arm, into his blood vessel." Anyway, and there's one of our missionary men, and that low fellow there, that short man, no, he was a best speaker. I got him to speak at our college on health. He was very good working with the natives on health. Next slide. There, that's our charcoal pots, okay? I had to go in by the window because the staircase was all filled with suitcases, and I couldn't get in the staircase, so I went into the bus through the window, okay? Next. And that's the rain. Now, I don't know how on earth these people who drove these boats from that island over to the mainland, Luzon, how they did it, no stars, no sun, without compass. How'd they do it? But they did it. They did it. Okay, next. I think we're about done now. Is there another slide? Maybe not. That's it. Okay. Now,
Doctor,
yes.
I want to share with you something. You mentioned that Romania, I don't know when, that it is the highest soul-winning place
Yes,
in Europe.
that's right. Yes, yes.
But I would like to brag to you that in the world, the soul-winning place is the Philippines.
Yeah. Now, I should tell you, our goal was soul winning over there. I told you that was part of the assignment. That was Catholic country. And they would tell their kid, these are Adventistas. Go there to them.
The Philippines is the only Catholic country in Asia.
And we had a youth club. We had 26 young people baptized. And now the report is that 60% of the islanders are Seventh-day Adventists. The year after we left, they started a new church in the village next to us. Medical missionary thing works. Okay? And I just wanted to, this to me was ideal type of soul winning program. You do something for the community, and then ask them to join you. And this worked. Now, so much for the Philippines. How about cooking schools? If we had more cooking schools, we'd have more people in the church, we were told. When did you have a cooking school last? We need to have cooking schools. Now, the Holy Spirit working through his earthly messengers will accomplish more than the printed page. Literature work is important, but with somebody to deliver the message, working with the people, it is more important. It's the personal contact that's important. Literature work is important, but the literature should be distributed judiciously. That doesn't mean you give it at every door. It means you have contacts you give it to. Judiciously. We need to have contacts. People we're acquainted with. Give them the literature, you know. Now listen to this statement here. More than 1,000 will soon be converted in one day, most of whom will trace their first conviction to the receiving of our publications. So it works. How many of you know Paul Damaso? Loma Linda. He's organized. He's got lots of people helping him. All these literature places, racks. He can tell you how many they've baptized, how many Bible studies they're getting from it. They're really doing marvelous work. We need to do that. And have you heard about people being unwillingly converted? Sister White says that's what literature does. They pick up the piece of literature. They read it. They come across something, they don't believe it, and they get mad and throw it away. And then after a while, they wonder, what else do they say there? And they pick it up again and read some more. Something that goes against their grain, they throw it away. Finally,
Do you know Walter White?
yes, I know.
He was converted because of literature.
Yeah.
What is it? Somebody was repairing his house. A carpenter. Seventh-day Adventist.
Yeah.
And he was given a literature.
Yeah.
And he does not want to offend them.
So he takes it.
He put it in a drawer.
Yeah.
When he got into trouble, he went to the drawer and read it.
It's marvelous. Eventually, we're going to see 1,000 in one day converted because of their having read our literature. We need to get the literature out there, that's for sure. But there are people that says are unwillingly converted. They don't like what they read, throw it away, pick it up again. Don't like it, throw it away. Pretty soon, they're converted unwillingly. Sister White says this. It's exciting. I gave this to Paul DeMazzo. He's given it to all his people that are helping him. Love is the main motive for everything we're doing. Love. Okay? Now, go ye. We are not to wait for souls to come to us. We must seek them out where they are. We sit here in the church waiting for non-Adventists to walk in. We should go where they are. Let's have our cooking schools, not just in the church, but where they are, where they will come. I have not much confidence in doing a large amount of work for those who already know the truth. I think the elders should take care of the church. Pastors, go out there and get new souls. Elders take care of the church. Okay? To get to be ordained as a minister back in the old days, you had to raise up a church. My father and his friend, Robert Strickland, went to an area and they worked hard. They got a lot of people interested, but no baptism. The next year, they want to go a different place. So they had the committee. Elder Branson was in charge. Elder Branson said, what happened last year? Well, we had a lot of interest. How many were baptized? Well, they didn't get to that point. You got to go back there and get a church. And he made them go back there. And fortunately, this time, there's an opposing church holding meetings, and they wanted to have a debate. Back and forth. Had a big debate. The whole town turned out. We had a lot of people come to our meeting, and people were baptized. They raised up a church. Then they're ordained as a minister. There are people now have to go to theological seminary and study books. Don't win one soul. They're ordained because they got the degree. The degree should come because of your soul winning. And so it's kind of exciting about this kind of work, ministry. With our big city work, a great work will be done in our cities when more earnest plans are laid for the furtherance of the cause of present truth in these places. When Ted Wilson called me one day, said, I want you to come and pastor this church here in New York. I tried to find out where the church was, but he wouldn't tell me. Later I found out. I think it was a church called Babylon. So he didn't want to tell me. But I said, now, look, your father's been raising money for the health work here. Why can't I go as a doctor and do the health evangelistic work. He said, I'll ask my father. And his father had a good explanation. He says, until we have good organized plans that will follow through properly, we aren't going to start giving any of the money out. That was reasonable, administratively. Ted's a good friend of mine. Restaurant work. We had a restaurant, Hill Street in San Francisco. It wasn't winning souls. If it's not winning souls, close it down. That's what she said. It could have won souls. You need to have a room there for people who are interested to come and hear the message, along with the restaurant. Chicago, Kellogg was taking all the church's money he could get his hands on and feeding and clothing the poor in Chicago. That is not this church's function. We're to spread the three angels' message. Other people can do that. Sister White is clear on that. Our money is not to be wasted in Chicago and New York, she said. Yes, we can do something to help people like that. But if we're not winning souls, what are we doing? Let's see. Camp meetings. Camp meeting. That was to be moved every year to a different area so that could be a soul-winning thing, bringing non-Adventists in to hear the message. It's not doing that anymore. It's a different thing. Different thing. Schools. Scharffenberg University, the school that my aunt started. She had a dream one night. People in strange dress, come over to Macedonia and help us. She went to the library. They were Koreans, so she went to Korea in 1907. Started the first school, along with a man there. Started the first school. Ended up Scharffenberg University, one of our biggest universities. Everybody has to be accepted if they pass the exam. So 90% of the freshman class are non-Adventists. 90% of the senior class are Adventists. Our schools should be evangelistic places. New Start programs. Have you done a New Start program? Now, the last sheet here I have is what Hergalia has done. I helped to start Hergalia. I raised the money to start them. It's quite exciting. I raised this through the Lonely University Church. Carol Small and I wrote a letter to all kinds of friends and got money and started them over 50 years ago now. And they've done a marvelous job over there. Not only are they have repeat people coming again and again to their New Start program, they're now starting places in every conference. 6 conferences over there. They want to get them in every conference. And some conferences have 2 places where people to come. I remember Mr. Fishbeck from Highland came to me at my heartbeat program. His cholesterol and triglycerides sky high. Took me a long time to find out the problem. I finally asked the right question. Do you like ice cream? He said, yes. So I said, once in a while now, after a meal, you'll have some ice cream? No, not quite like that. Well, how is it? I eat it before I go to bed at night. How much? Well, I'd get a bowl from the kitchen, and I'd mash it up so my wife couldn't tell how many scoops it was. But I said, you know how many it was. How many was it? He says, 3 scoops. But, I put whipped cream on top of it. Whipped cream isn't very sweet, so I'll whip sugar into it. I put strawberries on top, but they aren't really sweet, the frozen strawberries, you know. So I mix sugar into that. How long have you been doing this? Oh, every night for 6 months. No wonder his cholesterol and triglycerides were high. You know, after we got him down, he said, don't you Seventh-day Adventists have a place that I can come to learn how to do this? Isn't that what we need? Lifestyle, living lifestyle centers? We were supposed to have one out of every large city. We have 10 that have cities now with more than 1 million population. We're supposed to have a sanitarium, new term would be living lifestyle center, out of each one of those, where we're practicing a different type of medicine without medicines. And now with cardiovascular disease, which is killing more than the next 5 leading causes of death combined, we're finding that lifestyle does more good than anything else, can decrease heart attack and stroke risk 80%, diabetes risk 88%, lifestyle. Just exactly what Sister White said.
No drugs.
You know, it's exciting.
No drugs.
No medicines. Yeah, just change the diet. Now, what are the 7 risk factors? Alcohol, tobacco, lack of exercise, overweight. They used to say too much meat and sugar, but now they're saying lack of fruits and vegetables to make it more acceptable. But that's the Adventist health message. We can go into schools, public schools, and teach our message through the scientific stuff we have today. Okay. I'm excited about the potential. But we need, as a people, to get back to the main goal of this church, to win souls. We need to do some planning together. Any ideas now that any of you have? What can we do to win souls right here in Colton?
We have to train our members.
Train your members, okay?
Especially, I suggest that we do it every quarter.
Years ago,
Times a year.
I started in Colton. I started a health clinic, practically free. They got a little bit of money. They had to pay a little bit to make them know it's worth something. But I had doctors and students from the School of Public Health come here. We had a Mrs. Hernandez here, big heavy-set lady, and we did a free medical clinic for these people in Colton.
Doug Baxter's got a radio station here in Loma Linda, San Bernardino, Colton, 107.3. It's always on. It's always got his sermons.
Yeah.
It's always has health programs. It's always on.
Yes.
Let people know.
Yeah.
107.3, Doug Baxter's radio station.
Okay, that's another good idea.
Station. It's not just the program, but the whole station is his 24/7. It's
Yeah,
always on.
that's good. That's good. Yes.
We put a sign outside of at the end of our driveway that invited people to Bible studies on Friday night. And we've had people come.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Yeah.
We have the new start, but we don't apply it. We know it, but we don't apply it. We have to apply 8 of them, not 1 or 2.
Yeah, all the principles. Yeah, that's right. Yes. Get yourself a bicycle and use it. Get exercise. Yeah. Exercise is important. I'm a nutritionist, but I have to admit exercise is more important than even what we eat. But we need to do it all. But I'm excited that the U.S. government in 2015 says the vegetarian diet is an optimum diet. I'm excited about that. That's scientifically true. We know it.
Doctor, I'm 86. I can still do 70 to 100 push-ups.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, you're still a young man.
Compared to you,
Next month I turn 98.
Forming small teams that have different skills like doing tune-ups,
Yes,
working on small machines,
right,
sewing classes,
right.
cooking classes. Start small.
Yeah.
Small team.
Yeah.
Not dependent on having 5 or 10 people. 2 or 3 people.
That's right.
Invite 2. Sometimes inviting too many is too much.
We just got to remember our goal. Soul winning. Soul winning. It can't be just for benefit for somebody, but we got to do more than that. We got to get them interested. I'm excited about the goal of this church. We need to do soul winning, okay? Let's have a word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for the information you've given this people. We pray that they'll help us to know how to get on off our chairs and get to working for you and bringing souls to a knowledge of the truth. Show us what we can do to be your hands here on earth. For Jesus' sake, amen. I did want to show you one other thing. I just found in my files, as I was throwing stuff away to move, a report I sent to the General Conference, Dr. Albert Whiting, head of our health department at the time. I want to read you this 2 paragraphs. I just returned from Botswana. This was a very worthwhile trip. Perhaps as many as 35 of the 45 members of Parliament attended some of our meetings. Their evaluation was excellent. There were about 60 altogether who attended these meetings. Dr. Wangai gave a marvelous spiritual appeal and prayer at the end. A number, 21 of the members of Parliament, as well as others, committed themselves to Christ. And a number, 11, are willing to join the Bible studies. Some are actually thinking seriously of joining our church. 4 were baptized, cabinet members. A lady who really helped us organize the program wants to join the church. Kenny Williams and his wife, who is a millionaire, are building the new church on Freedom Square there in Gaborone, the capital of Botswana. They are South Africans. Besides this, we worked with the leaders of churches at our central church. There were 115 registered. In the evenings, the church was packed. I had the last Friday night meeting and pled with them to commit themselves to live up to the health message. I've never had such good support as I had this time on the vegetarian diet question. Dr. Wangai supported it tremendously. The president of this field, Pastor Fofu, did also. Many have determined to be vegetarians. I pointed out that God does not now bring many into our church because of the backsliding on the health question. Wangai and the president got up when I was through and made tremendous appeal. Dr. Wangai spoke about the sin of not paying tithe. Only 30% of the people in that church paid tithe, and in his Nairobi church that he started, 89% are paying tithe. And then the president of the conference spoke about people not keeping the Sabbath, adultery, concubines, fornication of the young people. I was amazed at our little hospital there. 90% of the babies that were born at that time had no father living in the house. Isn't that terrible? We have asked, how could the Lord bring the leaders of the country into this church if there was sin in the church? Tremendous experience I had there in Botswana, but here, 4 cabinet ministers were baptized. You can't do it just with nutrition, but nutrition in the setting of a whole. It worked. It worked. Health reform is worthwhile. I hope this church will plan on winning souls. This is what we need to do. Thank you.